Filming underwater videos is arguably the hardest thing to do with an action camera. Whether you're scuba diving, snorkeling, or anything in between, filming underwater can be pretty tricky. But if you know the right filming tips, you can capture some pretty cinematic video. Hey guys, I'm Raymond and today I'm going to be giving you 7 tips to make your underwater videos better with your GoPro Hero 10. In my opinion, the most useful feature on GoPro cameras is Hypersmooth stabilization. With the Hero 10, we're now up to Hypersmooth 4.0, and boy does it work. The number one problem I see with underwater video is the lack of stabilization. When you film underwater, you want your shot to be stable and create a relaxed look to the shot, and Hypersmooth allows for you to do this. With the Hero 10, you also have the option to use Hypersmooth Boost, which increases the camera's stability even more. You can turn on Hypersmooth in your Hero 10 settings as it works with every resolution and frame rate. Using this feature will help you create the most cinematic underwater footage possible. Now I can't tell you how many times I've seen people underwater filming with their GoPro in their hands. Doing this makes it really hard to create good shots, which is why you need to use some sort of handle while filming. Personally, I always use an underwater light tray. I find this to be the absolute best mount for underwater video. This rig allows for you to create insanely smooth shots, and part of this is because it's a little weighted. You also have the ability to attach lights to it, which makes the light tray perfect for all underwater settings. Another good one to use is the underwater selfie stick. This is undoubtedly the most used underwater mount, and for good reason. The main purpose of this mount is to get great shots of yourself while under the surface, but it can be used for so much more. It allows for you to get your GoPro closer to what you're filming, which is always a bonus. Now of course there's a plethora of other mounts to use, but I find the 2 I just listed to be the most beneficial. Now before I continue, my channel is full of underwater adventures like scuba diving and snorkeling, along with all kinds of GoPro videos. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on so you never miss out on new videos. It's no secret at all that filming underwater is tricky, and part of this is because of how different it can be under the surface. How your video comes out in 5 feet of water will be very different than at 80 feet, which is why you need to use different settings in different situations. When you're diving deeper, you don't have as much light as you do at the surface, which is why you need to reduce the number of frames per second your Hero 10 is set at. Doing this brings out more available light in your shot, which is always a bonus while underwater. With the Hero 10, you have the option to film in 120 or even 240 frames per second. However, when you're filming in deeper water, you should reduce the number of frames per second. This tip also goes for filming static objects like shipwrecks. Video resolution is also important while filming underwater. When snorkeling, I like to film in a lower resolution like 2.7K. This is so I can use a higher frames per second. Doing this allows for you to capture all of the action. Snorkeling typically involves faster movement, which is why filming in a higher FPS is important. On the Hero 10, you can film video in 2.7K at 240 frames per second. This is absolutely great for snorkeling, as it'll allow for you to capture some awesome footage. But while diving, you should either be filming in 4K or 5.3K. A higher resolution is obviously more cinematic looking, which is what look you want your diving footage to have. 4K 120 or 5.3K 60 are both perfect for diving. Besides for stabilization, the biggest problem I see with underwater video is the color. I've seen so many people get frustrated with the color in their underwater video, and rightfully so. Capturing good underwater color is tricky, but with the right knowledge you can make it happen. In the past I've recommended dye filters, but we're at a point where these filters are becoming kind of obsolete. Of course, dye filters are still useful, but I'd recommend a few different things before using these filters. The first thing you can do is color correct while editing. This can can be tricky as well, but if you have the right editing software, you can easily do it. Even the color correcting on iMovie can get it done in some cases. Now the second thing you need to do is adjust your white balance on your Hero 10. You are now able to choose how much red or blue exposure you want in your videos, which is so beneficial for underwater video. For underwater, you should crank up the red channel. This will make the colors in your video pop. Instead of having really dull and blue looking footage, you'll be able to get the reds and yellows and oranges to pop out in your video. Having good color in your video is key, which is why this tip is very important. When you're filming underwater, what do you want to do? Now hopefully you answered that you want to create cinematic video. Underwater video isn't like anything else. You need to be slow and steady and create a cinematic look in your shot, which is where slow motion comes in handy. The Hero 10 is capable of filming in 8 times slow motion. This is the same as the Hero 9, but it works well. Like I touched on earlier in the video, the Hero 10 allows for you to film in insanely high frames per second, like 120 or even 240. Which is very useful for slow motion. If you want your underwater footage to look good, then slow motion will definitely do that, which is why it's a feature you should use on the Hero 10. Too many times I've seen people all over the place while filming underwater. This can easily happen to any of us. While under the surface, there's so many things to see, and we all want to capture everything with our camera. However, you need to remember to take your time. Of course, this allows for you to create better shots, but it's also beneficial for seeing marine life. If you're swimming fast, all of the fish on the reef or wreck will disappear, which is why you need to take your time. You should also try to maintain good buoyancy. This will of course help you be a better diver, but it'll also allow for you to capture a steady shot, which is very important. Before you enter the water, you should have some idea of the shots you want to capture and the things that you could see. Every single time I go out to film underwater, I always have some shots in the back of my mind. Whether it's something simple like filming the way the sun's rays beam through the waves, or the way I want to film a shark. I have a lot of my shots in mind. Doing this will make you a better filmmaker in general. Going into the water, you'll know what shots look good and which shots don't, which will inhibit you to capture the best footage possible while underwater. You should also have an idea of the things you could see on the dive. If you know you're going into an area where there's a lot of sea turtles, you should be ready to see a sea turtle. Of course, wild animals are completely unpredictable, which is why you never know exactly what you're going to see, but you can still be prepared. Alright guys, so that's pretty much going to wrap up today's video, but before you go, make sure to smash that like button, comment down below what you think, and most importantly, subscribe with notifications turned on so you never miss out on awesome videos just like this one. I'm Raymond, and I'll see you on the next video.